This is a special segment. The reason for that is because it's not just myself. I brought a good friend of mine. His name is Vander, right? Maybe you guys have seen some of his content on IG, on TikTok. I should have pulled it up because he has a collective, I think, of just hitting a mil. We're almost at a mil.
We're right
right?
there, dude. We're so close to a
We're
million
right there.
followers.
We're right there at a mil. And so if you guys have ever seen his content, which I'm a big fan of, which is one of the reasons why I brought him on, he sketches almost like these business concepts. If I could draw like that, I wouldn't be talking as much as I would be drawing and just illustrating ideas, concepts, frameworks, which is something that he's exceptionally good at. He runs a 7-figure business with his company Scorch Marker. He's sold, I believe, there it is right there. He can tell you a little bit more. He's sold well over $1 million worth of, revenue?
Oh yeah, last year we did $1.5 million in revenue.
$1.5 million in revenue. And so he understands 3 things that I think a lot of business owners struggle with. So I think that he's really good at, obviously, branding, product market fit, and also business structuring, which is one of the bigger reasons why I wanted to bring him on here is that latter part with the business structuring, especially with someone like that who actually does this thing, not just talks about doing the thing, but actually walks it out. And something that's also honorable about him is, if you guys can see behind for me, it's over his right shoulder, he has a firefighter helmet, which he was a firefighter for, I believe, 8 years, but has since taken just like the business world kind of like by the horns and decided to go into business full time. You guys know me. I'm very short and sweet. I love giving the floor when the floor is due. This is going to be super interactive tonight, but he is going to bring you guys some super dope content. So brother, floor is yours. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I make TikToks about business tips because I own a business. My business is called Scorch Marker. I started it about 4 or 5 years ago. It's a wood burning marker. You draw on wood with this marker, you apply some heat, and it burns. My wife and I took this concept, we ran with it, and we turned the product into a company. A company that, like I mentioned to Irv, did $1.5 million last year in sales. We're super proud of that. We're in Michael's and Hobby Lobby. We have deals with Home Shopping Network. We sell on Amazon. We have Shopify. And so I've been able to take this company and test the things that I learn in audiobooks and on podcasts and on YouTube and from my mentors and my business coaches. When something works, I apply it, and then I talk about it on TikTok because I love teaching. Like, that's it. And my whole goal is just to grow my YouTube channel and that side of the fence. So there's 2 sides of me, the entrepreneurial side and the educator side, and I really like to run with it. And so Irv has consumed a chunk of my content and asked me to come here today to talk about some of that high-level stuff. So now that I'm here and you know who I am and what I do, I want to talk about some of those myths that I mentioned at the beginning. Some of those myths being, should I form my LLC out of state? Should I form my company in Wyoming because Wyoming has non-disclosure laws? Should I form my company in Delaware because Delaware has good corporate laws? The short answer is no, you shouldn't. The short answer is that you should form your company in the state that you're in or the state that you're doing your business in. It makes things simpler. It makes things easier. You can stay in compliance better. And the rules in Wyoming and in Delaware, they don't affect people like us. Now, if you're a really big business like Facebook, or you're trying to create the next app and you're forming a corporation and you expect to go into court with all of these other companies, sure, Delaware could be great. But I just want to dispel that for you guys really quick, that simple is the play. Simple is the play. Because there's compliance requirements for every LLC, and the more stuff you add on, the harder it is to stay in compliance. And if you're not in compliance, your LLC is fucking worthless. You might as well not even have it. So, stay in compliance, keep your business money separate from your personal money, just like Irv talks about all the time. Now, we all know how to get an EIN. Irv's talked about it many times. Once you get your LLC, you get your EIN, and they're free, and you can attach them. And then you use the LLC and the EIN to go get a bank account. A business bank account, that is. And that's the foundation of what he teaches, how to build your credit and how to have that separation of your business assets and your personal assets. I cannot stress to you how important that is. Like, how absolutely important that is that he teaches. Like, it is so monumental. If you just keep your business assets separate from your personal, you're going to be winning you're going to be beating 90% of entrepreneurs. Really, no joke. Okay. So we understand that we have our business bank account set up for our LLC, and that's going to be the vessel that collects our money. Whether we're doing real estate syndication, whether we're selling a product, whether we're doing Amazon FBA or coaching, it doesn't matter. We want to collect all of the business money in our business account. When we have to spend money on a business purchase, we swipe the business card, right? Anything that is regular or necessary for your business. Laptops, computers, cell phones, travel to meet someone, food to feed the owners and people over discussions, whatever the case may be. If you can even remotely justify it for your business, spend the business money on it. But what about personal stuff? What about toothpaste and clothes and shoes and, some of the things that we can't really get away with spending for our business? Our mortgage. I don't ever want anyone to spend money on personal stuff out of their business account. If there's one thing that you take away from this discussion, it's that. Just keep them separated, please. So how do we do it though? How do we do it? We have to do what's called an owner's draw. And we have to transfer money from our business account into our personal account. We can write ourselves a check. We can do Zelle. We can use PayPal. We can do just a simple bank transfer online. That's okay too. The point I'm trying to make is that the money needs to be moved into your personal account before you can spend it on personal items. We're only going to spend money on personal items out of our personal account. That right there, man, will just set you up for success so hard. It's just so good. So a lot of people say, well, Evan, if I'm moving the money from my business to my personal account, is that going to be a taxable event? Do I have to pay taxes on that? No, you don't. And the reason is because the IRS is looking at you and your business as one thing. When you open up an LLC and a business bank account, the IRS is looking at you and it still sees just you as a person. It doesn't see a difference there. And so whether you leave the money in your business bank account at the end of the year or put it in your personal bank account at the end of the year, you're still going to pay the same amount of taxes. Whether it's retained earnings in your business or, you've taken it out in owner's pay. The big takeaway is you have to move it before you spend it on personal stuff. So just having an LLC doesn't save us money in taxes. I learned that lesson way too late. I legitimately thought that I could just leave $50,000 in my LLC's bank account and I wouldn't have to pay taxes on it because I didn't pay myself with it. And oh my God, my tax bill was insane and I fucked up. But I learned that lesson, okay? And I'm not going to make that same mistake again. So then it begs the question, how do we pay ourselves and pay less in taxes? How do we do it the right way? And that's what we're going to talk about next. So when we transfer money from our business to our personal account, let me give you a scenario. Let's say you just did $10,000 in course sales and you put $10,000 into your business bank account and then you paid off the credit card because you had to spend $5,000 to make the $10,000. So now you have $5,000 left. Okay. You're like, I got to pay my mortgage. I want to go on a trip. I want to take all $5,000 out as profit. So you do. You transfer that $5,000 to your personal bank account. Now your business account is at zero and your personal account has $5,000 in it. You are responsible for the earnings of what you've done as business activity. You're responsible to pay the government a percentage of your profits. So you got to pay them a percentage of that $5,000. And it's just an arbitrary number, you guys, for sake of discussion. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because there are 3 different taxes. And we're not going to go super heavy into this, I promise. I'm not going to bore you. But I need you to understand the basis so we can build on it, right? State income tax, federal income tax, self-employment tax. A lot of people forget about self-employment tax. State and income tax go up and down based on how much you make. That one's easy to figure out. You just look up the chart, see how much you make. Self-employment tax, however, is a motherfucker. It sneaks up on people. It's 15%. And the reason they charge it is because they need to fund Social Security and Medicare. And because you're self-employed and you don't have any employees and you're not working for anyone, they're like, yo, this guy works for himself and pays himself. He's got to play the employee portion and the employer portion. He's got to do both. But when I was working at the fire department, I only had to pay 7.5% because I was just an employee. So how do we avoid that? Because it's totally doable and you absolutely can do it. The answer is an S-corp. And you've heard about S-corps on here before. And they've been explained on here before, and I'm not going to go super hard into that either. But I want you to understand that an S-corp is simply changing the tax status of your LLC. It's not a separate thing. It's not a separate entity. It's not a separate company. It's not anything other than one simple little form that you fax into the IRS and say, hey, I want to change my LLC's tax status into S-corp. And the IRS is like, all right, man, we can do that. We can do that. We will give you the tax breaks, but you have to follow the rules. And the rules are these. You must pay yourself a salary and be on payroll. You must take distributions. And you must stay in compliance, which means that you have to keep meeting minutes and keep your LLC in good standing and pay your taxes and all those things like that. So if the government says, we'll give you a tax break for forming an S-corp, as long as we do these things, like, what does that even really mean for us? Like, how do we actually execute that? And I'm going to give you an example right now. Let's say you made $100,000 with your LLC. You took all that money out as profit. You're paying taxes on $100,000. You're going to pay state income tax, federal income tax, and self-employment tax. And just self-employment tax alone is going to be $15,000. The total tax liability for that will probably be about $34,000, just so you know. Like in taxes, if you're making $100,000 in profit, about $34,000 in taxes. Now let me give you another scenario where there's an S-corp involved. You have an LLC taxed as an S-corp, and now you're taking a paycheck every 2 weeks. You take $50,000 in paychecks, right, over the year. Then you take the other $50,000 in a distribution. Well, the salary that you paid yourself is now a write-off for your business. Okay? So the salary is only subject to state and federal income tax because you're an employee now, right? The distributions, because it's a distribution coming from an S-corp, it is not subject to self-employment tax. It's not. It just isn't. And that's the rule. So by playing the game that the government has laid out, we can save money forever. Forever. We can not pay self-employment tax on distributions. So the tax liability of someone with an S-corp is going to be about $21,000 versus the $34,000 for not having an S-corp. And this is what I'm here to remind you about. Remind you that this is where you want to be progressing towards. Okay? So someone says, Evan, well, I'm just starting. Do I need to do an S-corp right away? The answer is no. I'm going to give you a progression to follow. So when you're just starting out, if you're making $0, you oftentimes don't even need an LLC, but sometimes it's really important if you want to build business credit. And so I just recommend to get an LLC for everybody. You know what I mean? If you're serious about this shit, like, of course, every case is different, but if you're serious, take the steps, go through it, get your reps in, practice what it's like to have an LLC, and know that when you get to $50,000 a year in profit, it will make financial sense to form an S-corp. That's the trigger point, okay? So your job until you make $50,000 in profit is to sell your ass off and make as much money as you fucking can, and then get to that trigger point so that now you can incorporate an S-corp into your strategy so that you can pay less in taxes for the rest of your life, okay? This is the high level. This is what we want to accomplish. This is where we're going, okay? I have an S-corp that collects all of the money for all the random little things that I do, and that S-corp pays me. This company, Scorchmarker, pays my S-corp management fees. When I start another company with let's say Irv and I started a credit repair company, my earnings from that partnership are going to go directly to my S-corp, and my S-corp's going to pay me. All the money I make from doing TikTok stuff and brand deals and creator accounts, YouTube ad revenue, it goes to my S-corp, and then I pay myself with it. It's called a pass-through entity because it's designed for you to collect all of the money in one spot and then pass it through to yourself so that you can pay less in taxes. So, keep your bank account separated. Think about the S-corp. Think about changing your tax status when you get to that trigger point so that you can pay less in taxes. And if at any time you need somebody to help you with this, reach out to Irv or reach out to me, and we will make sure that we get you the appropriate person that can help you execute this, because I don't expect to do this on your own. I don't even do this on my own. I have bookkeepers and CPAs that execute for me. Just the last and closing note on that. I paid my CPA last year $5,000 to do my taxes, and he saved me $55,000. So it was worth it. It was worth it. Now, that being said, every single person's situation is completely different. So please, like, if you ever have questions, message me on Instagram. I will hit you with a video response. I love that shit. I like meeting new people. So I hope that helps you guys. I really hope it does.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys being on here. Brother, anything you want to say to close us out tonight?
Just start, man. Just start. Don't get hung up on any of this legal bullshit. Don't get hung up on the LLC shit. Don't get hung up on anything. Sales cure everything. So please just start.
That's it. Boom.